Good morning. How are you? It is a beautiful Monday morning right now, and we're off on. Yeah, things are kind of normal right now today. Um, off to a good start. Beginning of the week. My kids are doing their schoolwork. The guys that mow the lawn even showed up today, which was I don't know that I was completely expecting it. I didn't know how things were working in that regard. But it saves me a lot of work this week, so I'm appreciative of that. I'm gonna have to write that down as an extra appreciation thing this morning. Good morning, Levi. Thanks for joining me. I'm gonna give some time to let people jump on here. Levi, how you doing? What's going on with you today? Anything interesting going on with you? Um, Yesterday was kind of quiet. It ended up raining. We didn't make the hot dogs we were planning on making last night with the boys. We didn't have s'mores, so we just had weirdly enough, my kids like salad. So we made a salad last night that'll carry us through the entire week, so we'll be able to eat that all week. But yeah, I don't know. I have the two weirdest boys. They love eating salad. One of them without dressing. So I was definitely not that kid when I was a kid. I think I lived on meatloaf my entire childhood. I feel that's all I remember eating is meatloaf. I don't know. But yeah, so just doing our regular thing. Hopefully, the guys don't need to come to the door for anything. If they do, I might have to jump away, but we'll see. Levi, lots of homework, and Emily begins e-learning today. Yeah, the e-learning is kind of nice. I didn't. I originally thought that I mean, let's just write this year off. Like that was kind of my feeling about it. But seeing my kids doing the work and seeing them with their teachers and their classmates makes it all worthwhile. I honestly don't even care what they learn from now for the next the month or next month or two. Seeing them with that sense of community, even remotely, is it's pretty cool. So I'm thankful for that, and I think that's the most important part. So if teachers out there, um, uh, know that what you're doing is appreciated, even if you don't feel that it's up to snuff from an academic standpoint. What you're doing out there uh, for the kids themselves is amazing. So thank you for that. Good morning, Mary. Thanks for joining me. Good morning, Helen and Levi. I wish I would write my college school year off. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, man, I'm making my neck red. I saw your post. I think it was yesterday or the day before. About like the amount of work they're giving you. I mean, it's there's a lot going on, and it's funny because some people have, from a work perspective, work and school, some people have zero sympathy for anybody. Like the show must go on, and I think that's really unrealistic from a lot of perspectives. There is so much stress and anxiety, and you have to account for that. Um, it's just I don't get it. So I hope that we can help you in some way navigate through this. With some balance in some way. And we've even changed our approach. I mean, we've changed how we've gone about this whole define my day focus right now because productivity, can take a back seat. If you're using it to stay productive, that's great, but I think we also need to be aware of the other things going on and the fact that that's going to edge into our productivity. And if we weren't great at being productive before this all started, we're not going to suddenly be productive. So we have to take all of that into account. So, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. On that note, I finished Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. I can't figure out why it took me so long to read it. I did earmark a lot of pages, and maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe I was just thinking too hard through it or hard enough. I don't know. But I finally finished it yesterday. I set a goal yesterday that I was going to finish this stinking book. So I finished it and I earmarked a lot of pages. And one of the things that stuck out to me, there's a couple things that I'm going to talk about all week this week. But one of the things that stuck out to me was this matter of self-trust. And I think that's some of what's going on right now with people. So we're going to talk about that after we get through all the fun stuff first. Deborah, good morning. If I didn't see you already, Terry, good morning. Diana, you cannot hear me very well. I don't know. I can try to change it a little bit. Is that better? Is the volume better for you guys there? How's that? Good morning, Stacy. I'm trying not to get too close to the microphone because sometimes it gets a little weird. You hear like every little thing that comes out of me, whether it's a breath or whatever. So I'm trying not to get too close to the microphone so you guys don't hear all the normal noises. Um, so if let me know how that goes. I feel like I'm now it's a little bit too loud. All right, good. All right. So well, the first thing I wanted to talk about, uh, I want to show you this. So I, have been trying to adjust my messaging on our product because I don't want to people that have never heard of us. I don't want them to think that we are just like work harder, right? 'Cause that's not what we're about. We're about doing today what's most healthy, right? Whether it's work, relaxation, things that align with our values and purpose, right? We talk about this all the time. But a lot of people don't get this message. A lot of people just see the ad, see a planner, and think, well, this is just to make us work harder. So we get negative feedback on some of our ads that, oh, now is not the time to be doing this. Well, from my perspective, given the holistic way that we look at it, now is the best time to be doing any of this. But so we did a post last week where I basically laid out the process for anybody that wanted to do this at home without purchasing Define My Day. So look, I would love for you guys to continue to purchase Define My Day. And the people that have already purchased it, there are some people that purchase one and then do the practice themselves by writing it out themselves. If that's what you need to do, if that's where you feel like your time is valuably spent, then fine. I get it. Like some people would rather do that than pay for the product. We certainly appreciate when people purchase it. But given this time specifically, a lot of people are trying to watch their money. I get that, right? So we put it out there like this is the basics to it. We'd appreciate it if you purchased it, but if you can't, this is the basics on how you do it. We didn't even promote this, like we didn't promote this post. But so it was shared out by a lot of people, right? And so one of the people that it somehow got to was this woman. And she gave us this loveliness. Screw off, spam, F you. Nice. So normally, I probably would just write it off. But, I feel like I never know what to say. Like, so do we say, hey, sorry you feel that way or whatever, but this wasn't even like an opposition to the product. This was just somebody that was just throwing out some stuff, right? So we just said, hey, sending some hugs your way, like apparently you need it is kind of like my thought there. And so then she hopes that coronas come our way, which at that point, like, oh man, I mean, where are you at right now? And so we gave her the old Judge Judy eye roll. I mean, I don't know what else to say to that. I mean, what are you gonna do? I don't know. So that's where we are with Shannon. Shannon, thanks for stopping by. All right, so let's get into our memes today. These are kind of like we can't just do one a day now. Now we got to do a couple. So I'm going to roll through two different themes right now with our memes. Number one, this one is not even quite a meme, but just a funny stinking story, I guess. Somebody in a Zoom call or Microsoft Teams meeting made themselves a potato, if you can see it up there on the top right, and she was a potato for the entire meeting and could not change it back. That is hilarious. The next one is this one, because we're all just doing these meetings, like right out of bed, right? I mean, like, and there's me, I put on a decent shirt for you guys. I took a shower last night, so I didn't take one this morning, so my hair's a mess. And if we look at my hair right here, man, I am getting scruffy looking. I was talking to my brother over the weekend. I don't know if I'm going to go out and buy clippers or not go out, but order clippers in and just shave my head, or if I'm just going to let it go and, my Corona hair, quarantine hair, see where it takes me. I don't know. Well, I'm still on the fence about what I want to do, but my boys are getting scruffy looking too. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do. And I'm sure the ladies, especially the ladies that color their hair, you probably have a nice crown going on right now, right? I know. I've heard the stories. I've heard how that's going too. I am so gray. There's not even like I can't even color my hair. The one time I colored my hair when I started really going gray about 10, 15 years ago, I walked into the bank and the women, the tellers behind the counter were like, "What did you do?" I never did it again. Never did it again. So, and it wasn't even like any. It wasn't like a major change. It was just kind of like one of those blend-in color things. They did not like it. So definitely never did that again. I figure as long as I don't go bald, I'm in good shape. I'll go Steve Martin straight white if I can. So yeah. So that's it. Enter your meeting ID out of bed. And then so the other aspect of this is the Tiger King is taking over right now, right? So Tiger King is the big thing. And I had to use this one because it's straight out of Pennsylvania. This is our governor, and somebody asked him on the chat, "Have you seen Tiger King? And do you think Carol killed her husband?" Uh, and this woman or this person even has, "Did Carol Baskin kill her husband?" And the delivery people get to vote depending on where they put the packages. That is hilarious. Apparently, everybody agrees that she did. And there was another one too that I'm going to share with you tomorrow that I'm going to put up there. It's like Carol Baskin, yeah. And so this week we found out yesterday that Netflix is going to drop one more episode coming up this week. So if you have been watching Tiger King, there's a new episode coming out. Can't wait to see that. On the final note of the going back to the Zoom meetings and virtual meetings, Dua Lipa, if you know her, she's a singer. She's a British singer. Did a live session on James Corden's show. I think it was like a week or two ago. Her entire ensemble, like the dancers, the backup singers, the musicians, all did their respective parts from their homes via whatever this technology was. I don't think it was Zoom or anything like that. But I tried to put a link up here on the screen and it didn't work for me. So you'll have to. We could maybe put it in the comments. But it was pretty impressive. Like there's one dancer, she was dancing in her laundry room. Like you could see her washing machine off to the right. But it was pretty good. So if you're looking for something happy and good going forward here, that's in you like decent top 40 music. That's a good one. So the sound is much better. Thank you, Lori. Good morning, Marcia. Good morning in sunny North Carolina. Yeah, sunny here too. Looking forward to a nice day. Gonna get outside and do some yard work, and tonight we're gonna make our s'mores. Good morning, Debbie. Never seen Tiger King. Never seen Tiger King, but might need to try it. Yes, you might need to try it. It is a train wreck, not one that I'm normally into, but it is a fun train wreck to watch. Yesterday, like I started off saying, the weather wasn't so great, so we spent a lot of time indoors. I finished reading my book. We kind of just hunkered down and did some stuff together. We played some games together. Lynn watched a movie. I guess Disney made a movie called Onward that they released to the Disney Channel streaming channel, and she and the boys loved it. Loved it. Apparently, a very good movie. I didn't watch that one. I was doing some work, but yeah, pretty cool. And I finished my Brene Brown book, Dare to Lead. Where are we at? Right here. There we go. So I wanted to follow up on. There was we talked briefly about toxic people yesterday, so I wanted to hit that briefly with a quote that I thought you guys would like. Let me get back to it. I gotta find it. Sorry, I marked the page, but I also have a couple of other pages marked here. Come on now. Where are you at? Okay. So, we talked a little bit yesterday about narcissistic type people, right? And toxic relationships, and we've gone through that a couple of times over the past couple of months. We all have these relationships, right? At the end of one of her chapters in the book, she says this: We can never overestimate the relationship between self-trust and trusting others. Maya Angelou said, "I don't trust people who don't love themselves and tell me I love you." There is an African saying which is, "Be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt." And I think that's very succinctly uh, puts a thought, it very much clarifies a thought that I've had about relationships. I've seen in the past that people that most want relationships are probably the least likely to be able to function in one in a healthy way. And that may be like an overly strong correlation there, but what I mean is that if you're desperate to have a relationship, it's usually because there's something going on in here, right? And so the healthiest relationships are two healthy people that come together and have a healthy relationship. If there is a need from one of the people, then it becomes off balance and unhealthy. And a lot of times, if somebody is empty and doesn't love themselves, but says, "I love you," there's something going on there. They have to love themselves first. And I think that that's a core component in the whole Define My Day toolkit and defining life toolkit, is that we have to develop a real strong love for ourselves and a real sense of confidence so that we can walk away from certain things, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, and be okay with that, where that it doesn't destroy us or damage us. And we all know people, like I see people, especially on social media, where they're constantly bemoaning that they can't find a good personal relationship, and they almost seem desperate to want one, and then they get one and like immediately put it into like full on, like, we're gonna get married soon kind of stuff. I mean, and when that happens, as the other person in that relationship, you almost have to feel like this person was so needy of a relationship, they might have grabbed onto anybody, right? And so, how valuable am I going to feel in that situation? So, and the bottom line is, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of this, right? But I think the main component of it is bringing it back in is that we have to be real confident in ourselves. We have to love ourselves. We have to build a solid foundation for ourselves. And that starts with understanding what our values and purpose is, and making sure that we're not compromising those values and purpose, that we're living our daily actions in alignment with those values and purpose, and that we form really authentic relationships with the people around us. And it's okay. If we're living in alignment with our values and purpose, when people say, "You know what, I don't like you or your values or purpose," you're going to say, "Cool, see you later," right? And that's going to be okay, because we're going to find other people that do. And it's a weird transition to make, and it can be a lonely transition if you have been editing yourself over time, and you've formed relationships that aren't really authentic. By backing away from them, it takes a while for other people to see you for who you are now, or who you really are. So it's a weird place to be, but right now is kind of that gift, right? Right now we're almost forced into it. Right now we have that opportunity to work on ourselves. And I'm not saying we have the opportunity to work, right? This is not like the opportunity to do more work. This is not like it is. Like, let me not make a blanket statement there. It is. If you want to do more work, do more work. But if you need to do more work in here or in here, do that work, right? But what I hope you won't do is lean into all of the bad stuff, like what we talked about yesterday, the bad stuff that damages you, right? Is this good for me? Is the question you want to ask yourself day in and day out. Is this good for me? If the answer is no, what can we change? What do we need to do? Do I need to stop doing it? Do I need to change how I'm doing it? Do I need to do something else? Can I replace it with something else? And that can be anything. What you're feeding yourself, the activities you're doing, the things you're reading, the things you're watching, the relationships you're maintaining, all of it. Is this good for me? And the answer, when aligned with your values and purpose, right? All of this should help you get more clarity and more strength inside. so that when we emerge from all of this, no matter how long it is, if it's a month from now, if it's 6 months from now, whatever it might be, uh, we should hopefully be stronger here. And the person that walks out into the world will be confident, will be understanding of other people, will understand that other people are going through their own struggles, but we don't need to be down in that struggle with them. We can help as we can, and that we are not going to get wrapped up in toxic relationships the way we may have in the past. Cool? Cool. Let me hit the comments here real quick. Debbie on target. Thanks, Deb. Appreciate that. Lori, I haven't seen it yet either. We're talking about Tiger King again. My husband keeps telling me to watch it. He thinks I'll like it. Yeah, it depends. It depends. I really don't like that type of thing. It's just Netflix produced it so well. And there's like, oh my, like you just watch it and you're like, what else is going to happen here? Like it's such a, this guy was not defining his day. And if he was doing it wrong. We should have talked. Patty says, you have to love yourself first. You are so right about that. Sadly, many people just don't get that. There are too many needy, codependent people. And that's it, right? And I don't know why. I don't know why. Like, and I guess maybe as you're brought up, something was missing. Maybe you had very transactional relationships and that's just what you're used to. I don't know why. I know I've been in that situation. And I'm trying to identify any vestiges of that as we go forward between my wife and I and business clients. I mean, we had business relationships that were like that. And it doesn't feel good. So you have to, it ends up leading down a bad path and you have to stay away from that. Levi says, I think that there is a need for some to know what loving self looks like. Yeah. It took a while for me to find those examples and living that authenticity in life. Yeah, I agree. And that's a big problem, is that if you're not raised to love yourself in the right way, it's like there's just a real foggy roadmap. It's not like you're given steps where somebody says, okay, you should do this, and if you do this, then this will happen, and if you do this. I mean, we're given very hazy instructions, and I feel like this is like the tragedy in humanity, because this has been going on for thousands of years. People go through the same struggles generation after generation, where we just can't seem like we don't pass on the right kind of self-worth values. And why do we have to keep figuring this out over and over again? And that's my frustration. Again, we'll go into my frustration with therapy briefly here, is that the therapist is like, so they're trained to let you figure it out yourself, when you're just wasting valuable time. So I don't know, if you find a good therapist, they'll probably guide you a little bit better, but other ones just let you wallow in this. And I don't know if they just don't know how to navigate it or what. I don't know. But that's where I feel like, people get down on coaching, life coaching, and whatever. But I think that's where you need it, because I think there are people that know the right things to do in certain situations, and that's where people need to hear, like, this is wrong. And many times in my life, I wish somebody would have just said, like, stop it. That's wrong. Like, don't do that anymore. Your reaction when this happens should not be this. It should be something more like this. And I feel like I would have really done better in life earlier, right? Now that's the responsibility of your parents early on, right? That reaction's not, no, now you can't slap anybody, right? But like, like virtual slap in the head, like, hey, like you can't do that anymore, right? It's funny because I'm going back to grade school now, like slap upside the head. I had a history teacher that used to say that. But so, like that was the job of your parents when you were younger, to like wake you up a little bit, like snap out of it, like this isn't correct, like. But a lot of people didn't get that, so we almost need that as adults. Like, this isn't right, but we think because we're adults, so we don't need that. Well, sometimes we do, right? And even I do. I mean, I'm certainly not saying that I have all of the answers. I still wish I had somebody over my shoulder going, that's not right. No. You need to start looking at it this way, and this is why. But that's just not the way life works. So we have to continue to investigate it ourselves and we have to continue to ask ourselves, is this good for me? Um, and we're gonna. It's funny because we're gonna talk about that. She goes into in these last couple of chapters here about like ways of like people overcome emotions and I can't remember the word she uses. Offload. They offload emotions. So we're gonna talk about that in a couple of days here going forward. Um, Let's see. Lori says, watching these videos is good for me. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to do these. They are very much appreciated. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think I get just as much out of them as you do. There's a lot of times I walk out of here with like so many notes. It's crazy. Definitely not defining his day. Had a mouthful of water. I'm gonna spit it out. Yeah, he wasn't defining his day, Lori or Diana. I'm sorry. Yeah, he definitely not defining his day. Um, Patty says many of us were not raised to love ourselves. Period. I agree. I agree. I think it's because the parents, it's the parents are still going through their own stuff and they're not prepared to raise somebody in a healthy way. I've seen it. If you're ever coaching sports and even the anecdotal stories you hear about sports, parents are doing more for themselves to make themselves feel better than what's good for the kids. Um, and you see it all the time. And even the stories my kid comes home with from school about the way kids behave, they're just getting bad examples at home, and because the parents haven't resolved their own problems. Um, we don't know how. It is hard to learn, and I learned it late in life. Yeah, I'm right there with you. After getting away from people who are not happy being on their own or being alone, lowering expectations does help too, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree there too. And that's we talked about that yesterday about expectations. And Helen agrees with you, Patty. We talked about expectations, right? Expectations destroy relationships. But that doesn't mean like it's funny because there's a line there, right? There are certain expectations. Like relationships are supposed to be equitable. Relationships are supposed to be a partnership, and so there is going to be some sort of expectation to a point that the other person is going to fulfill their end of the bargain. Now, I guess it's unrealistic expectations is how maybe we frame that. I don't know. I haven't quite thought it through or done enough research on it, but I think there should be expectations to a point, and I think that expectations in relationships and part in life kind of inspire us or pressure us in a good pressure kind of way to live up to who we feel we should be and the other people around us should be or feel we should be. Like like they say, like have friends who you want to clean up the house for when they come over, right? Because there's a level of expectation, right? And I feel like that's good. Like I want that kind of expectation. I want to be around people that expect me to be my best self. Because if there were people that weren't encouraging me to be my best self around me, if my wife wasn't encouraging me to be my best self, then there's a higher propensity for me to get like let things slide, right? Like it's that you're the average of the five people you hang out with the most, and so you look around at the five people. If they don't care about their personal health, their mental health, if they don't care about the relationships they have, if they have toxic relationships, chances are so are you. Um, so Siri is keep I need to turn that off. I am sorry. I keep forgetting to do it. So like we need to keep that in mind as that we look around at the relationships we have. Do these people help us lift up our own expectations of ourselves? Now, look, we don't want to get to the point where we have unrealistic expectations, where that person is just criticizing you and berating you. That's not healthy at all, right? But there's kind of that like there's a middle ground, I think, where it's healthy to have expectations, um, but you go into moments or seasons where those expectations have to go to the wayside, and where somebody can be understanding because they also understand that people go through rough times or have difficulties. So there's that space where it's healthy, right? Not too far one way or the other. Good morning, Jamie. Marcia, I always have had mentors throughout my career, and I learned so much. Maybe we need to have more mentors who can model self love. I agree. I totally agree. And that's the disappointing thing. you know, mentorship is huge, but it's hard to find mentors, and it's hard to pair up with mentors properly. And sometimes it gets expensive. Like people pay for mentorship, right? It's hard to find somebody willing to put their time out there because, again, they have their own problems. So there's that altruistic side of it that is really hard to find. Um, uh, so, I think, ideally your mentors would be your parents. But again, we go back to that, and maybe it's a societal thing. Like parents just, they're not, there's a large number of parents, and it doesn't matter. I think it's this, I think it's across all classes. There is a number, a significant portion of parents who have not resolved their own issues. And generation after generation, this gets passed down. And again, I feel like I cannot find it, but I read a quote from Socrates or Aristotle, somebody, and they were talking about this sort of immaturity that we have. And I mean, it was like you could have written it yesterday. It's just that people for thousands of years have been recycling this same dysfunction, and it's so frustrating to see. It's so frustrating. Levi, the unrealistic expectations and those who lean toward narcissism. Yeah, that's exactly it. Um, yeah, and that is, and having solid mentorship, it's hard. It's hard. I've approached people for mentorship, um, and and there's a way to approach it that where both sides get value and all of this other stuff. And I just I've not been able to find a good mentor through my life, that has been had the time to invest with me. And so it's hard. It's really hard. You can't get it from therapy because they're not mentors; they're therapists. Um, and I think the best way I've been able to do it has been online learning. I've, whether it's a marketing mentor or a business mentor, I've pulled good value from all of those places. But the other place is books. Whether it's a audible audio book, listening to it, reading a book like Brene Brown's book right here, or even a good podcast. I think that's what I've used as mentorship in my life over the past couple of years, as I've not been able to find an in-person mentor. So, I think that's why reading for me has become so much more important. It's something I wish if I would have had that one habit early in life, I think that, and it could start with fiction, right? Just in the habit of actually reading, but then transitioning to nonfiction as I got older, in self-development books and things. That would have been probably a pivotal point in my life that I missed out on. I mean, I hit it now, right? But, 10 years ago, if I would have done it, would have made a huge difference in my life. And Define My Day is kind of like a mentorship platform. Thank you. I appreciate that. And in all honesty, that's where we're going with this. Define My Day itself, the book, is a tool, right? I mean, this other stuff is so much more. And really, in honesty, if we're going to grow this, if we're going to have the resources to continue to go, we're going to have to turn it into something else. So we would still sell the book, but we're going to have to come up with a different platform that we can help people a little bit more one-on-one, where we can expand what we're doing. So we're thinking about that. We're keeping our eye on all of that, because I know there's a lot more to this. It's that whole defined life approach more than just Define My Day. Define My Day, again, being the tool, but the goal being, having that life that you define for yourself and helping you get to that place. So we're trying to figure out how to best do that, and we're getting there. I'm not trying to rush anything. I want to make sure that it's as valuable as it can be for all of you. And these conversations are invaluable, for me and for the other people. I mean, just the some of the stuff that you guys come with is amazing. So I appreciate it. The hippies were right. And let me see. Stacy says, I'm totally not slamming any religion at all. I'm only coming from my personal experience. It's taken me a long time to recover from some of the Catholic mindset. I was even going to become a nun at one point before I eventually became a minister. The religious culture I was brought up in was very much about putting yourself last and a sense of unworthiness. For me personally, and I'm only talking about my experience, for me, rising above that BS was profoundly healing and liberating. Leaving behind a mindset focused on a fear of God was huge for me to love myself more. I've been able to align more with the divine from a happy, healthy, and loving place, a place of wholeness. It was a tough thing for some of my family to understand my shift for my wellness, that they're still very much steeped in their particular French Catholic culture and mindset. I can relate there because I grew up Catholic too. We're still Catholic, but um, I know what you're talking about. It's that I've changed the way I've looked at my relationship with God. I don't, actually, the one book that really had a profound impact on my and clarified, crystallized my thought was, oh man, hold on, I'm going to get it real quick. Pardon the dead air for a moment here. I listened to it on Audible. Um, Mind Hacking Happiness. It's actually a two-volume set by Sean Webb, and it's all it's some of his stuff is really out there. Like he even goes into like psychedelics and stuff. But one of the points, and I don't remember which volume it was in, he talks about God, and he references some really horrible things. But that I even think he calls God the universe, right, or the like the life force or whatever he calls it. But that anybody that huge looks down on all life as a parent would look down on our own children, right? And we're not tyrannical with our children, right? We love our children. And in fact, if our children did awful things, we still love our children. And we're not going to torture them for eternity if they do awful things. We understand that everybody, something had to happen to them, something terrible had to happen for them to get to that terrible place. And so he goes through this much better than I could describe it. But when you bring it to home, when you look at your own children, like my children could do some awful things, I would love them no matter what, unconditionally. Like my kids would do awful things that would make me angry, make me disappointed, and make me upset, but I would always love them, right? And so I think that, if you look at it from like, if we are made of, if we are part of that, right? If we like, we're children of God. If you want to, I don't like usually go religious here, but this is like, these are different times, I guess. And so if we are children of God, if we're made in God's image or whatever you believe in, then the same feelings we have toward our children are the same feelings that being would have toward us, right? And so growing up with that guilt feeling or that guilt fear of God, that we are just sinning and we're terrible people and we always have to make up for that. I feel like those are the relationships that, like, when you have that relationship with your parent, when you grew up that way, that created a toxic feeling in you. So why would we continue that from a religious perspective? Like, what if it was toxic in our interpersonal relationships? It's probably toxic other places too, right? And so, you know, Stacy, I hear you. I hear you. And so and I look at some of the things that are going on in society right now. Some of the worst discussions right now are coming out of overly zealous religions, where they just anybody else is wrong. If you don't agree with them, you're wrong, and your life is somehow worth less. And that's not okay with me. So, while Define My Day is not a faith based product, Defined Life is not a faith based organization. And I'll tell you, some of the faith based organizations are some of the nastiest ones out there, especially in our space. I've seen some real hypocrisy in some of the faith based organizations. But I still do have opinions about it. And I hope you understand that my opinion doesn't have to be your opinion. We're intelligent people. We can disagree if you disagree with me. I hope I'm not turning anybody off right now. But, I think we just need to be, uh, it's got to start with love, right? It's got to start with understanding. It can't be constantly judgment and fear and all this other stuff like Stacy's talking about here. So I get you. I hear you. I am 100% with you. All right, listen, I took a major detour there. Let's get back into what we're talking about here. Uh, we are going into, I'm briefly going to talk about the basics of self trust. And this, I think this was important. I was reading this, and I think because right now, calling what's going on right now in life, calling it a setback would be an understatement, right? I mean, this is a big issue going on right now with the virus and the quarantine and even the politics and the arguments that are happening. And we're all struggling with it in a different way. And a lot of us coming into this thought, well, I'm going to be so productive. I have so much more time. And then we're not feeling that way, right? We're struggling. We're overcome with anxiety. We're upset. We're scared. We're scared for our health. We're scared for our jobs, our finances, and all the stuff that's going on. So, I thought this was applicable right now for the situation, and I wanted to read you this. So, pardon me for reading it because I don't know it well enough to not be able to read it first or to you. So this is the basics of self-trust, and she implements her braving process that I'm going to go through, which I would get buy the book if you really want to get into it, and I'm sure she has on her website goes into it also, but it's an acronym. Braving is an acronym, and she goes into it here as it relates to self-trust. So she says, while trust is inherently relational and most pronounced in practice with other people, the foundation of trust with others is really based on our ability to trust ourselves. Unfortunately, self-trust is one of the first casualties when we fail or experience disappointment or setbacks. Whether it's conscious or not, when we're wondering how we ended up face down in the arena, we often reach for the blanket statement, I don't trust myself anymore. We assume that we must have made a bad decision, and therefore it's a fallacy to count on ourselves to deliver. I don't know about you, but I can relate. Think about a time where you experienced a setback or a disappointment, a small thing, not a big glaring failure, where there might be extra baggage to unpack. Instead, focus on a time where you hit a bump, and that stumbling block made you call into question your ability to depend on yourself to follow through on what you know is important. We all have these moments. As you hold that memory in your mind, go back through Braving, her acronym, quickly and recontextualize the elements for self-trust. So here's the Braving acronym and the Braving process. B is boundaries. Did I respect my own boundaries in the situation? Was I clear with myself and then others about what's okay and what's not okay? And we've talked about this in the past, right? Boundaries are one of those big areas where we have a hard time. R is reliability. Could I count on myself? Or was my self-talk, Brene, you set these intentions at 7 a.m. when you wake up. I need the exhausted 4 p.m. Brene to follow through on all that stuff with the same passion that you had when you popped up in the morning. I can relate here in two areas. One, in the morning when I'm dedicating myself to eating healthy all day, and then at 6 o'clock at night going, okay, I ate dinner, I'm still hungry, I'm really craving some Cadbury mini eggs. And the other thing is, at the end of the day, when I don't want to journal, and this is a battle I have with myself every night, sit down for freaking 2 minutes and hold up to that reliability that you value for yourself and do what you say you're going to do. Write in the stinking journal for 2 minutes. It doesn't take that much time, and it's incredibly valuable. All right. A is accountability. Did I hold myself accountable or did I blame others? Uh-oh, bingo. And did I hold others accountable when I should have? Holding other people accountable. And this goes back to expectations, right? Sometimes we need to hold other people accountable, right? And when we don't, we're not respecting ourselves and our boundaries. Vault. V is vault. Did I honor the vault? And did I share or not share appropriately? That I stop other people who were sharing inappropriately? I feel like this needs a little bit of explanation. So vault, she goes into in the previous pages here. Vault is like sharing things that are not your right to share. So if you have information, if like this goes into the gossip side of things too, right? So there are certain things that need to be locked in a vault to that when you do that, like if you haven't know something about somebody else, if there's stories you shouldn't be sharing, when you lock it in a personal vault, it creates trust, right? And when you do share things that are inappropriate, it creates mistrust. There's a significant lack of trust between the person you're sharing it with, who's probably not going to share with you going forward, but also the person that did share something with you. There's mistrust everywhere. So in this case, how does it apply to you? Did you share things, and are you feeling inauthentic in what you shared? Has your vault been compromised? I is integrity. Did I choose courage over comfort? Did I practice my values? Did I do what I thought was right, or did I opt for fast and easy? Man, does this hit with everything we talk about every day with Define My Day? Right? Are we acting in integrity with ourselves, with what we believe in every day? And if not, how do we feel about that? And that's part of our journaling at the end of the day, right? How did what I do today make me feel? How did I follow through with it? All right, N is non-judgment. Did I ask for help when I needed it? Was I judgmental about needing help? Did I practice non-judgment with myself? We talk about that all of the time. Even when we're analyzing how we did today, we set our priorities. We did or did not follow through on what we said we were going to follow through with. That's not an indictment. We want to investigate why. So we don't look at it with judgment, right? We've talked about this so many times. We don't look at what we did or did not do with judgment. We figure out why we did not do it, or why we did do what we did, how we feel about it, how it's making us feel, and what we can do to improve tomorrow, right? No judgment, no personal ridicule. We just want to we want to identify, become aware, and grow for tomorrow, right? She's speaking my language here. All right, and then G is generosity. Was I generous toward myself? Did I have self-compassion? Did I talk to myself with kindness and respect and like someone I love? When I screwed up, did I turn to myself and say, you gave it the best shot you could, you did what you could do with the data you had at the time, let's clean it up, it's going to be okay? Or did I skip the self-love and go straight to berating myself? So her following, I'm going to read her following paragraph here and then we'll wrap it up. You are in control of your relationship with self-trust, and you can hold yourself accountable where you might be falling short. This isn't always possible when you're working through braving in relationship with somebody else, where the absence of trust might be muddied by ambiguity of intention. When you're on the mat with yourself, it's much easier to put a spotlight on where you need to work. So in all of this, if we apply it to where we are today, right? Like, strip away the expectations of who you are supposed to be. Strip away the expectations of everybody around you, the toxic relationships you might have, the work expectations, the personal expectations. Really get into who you want to be for yourself. And then go back through this process, this braving process, day in and day out, and feel, and like set your own values and purpose, align your daily actions with them, and do what you need to do to be to have integrity, and to fulfill like this contract with yourself, right? And you don't have to be. I mean, there's people watching right now. You don't have to be a Define My Day user. You can be. You don't have to be doing this process, but you still need to make sure that daily you're acting in accordance, in alignment with your values. All right. So hitting the comments real quick. I see one that Patty put on here. You're not alone, Stacy. There are a lot of us Catholics out there like you, me included. And I think it's something, like I understand the purpose of the way the Catholic Church was set up. You want to keep people on a path, and sometimes you have to use fear to do it. But I think going forward, things might have to change, right? I think we're all pretty smart, and we're all interconnected through social media and a lot of other ways of communication. And I think things are going to start changing, hopefully sooner, hopefully for the better. And I think if religions around the world adapt, they can promote spirituality while also doing away with the self-loathing or what's the word? I can't think of the word off the top of my head. The shame, I guess, would be the right word, that comes along with a lot of religions. So I don't want to get too religious on you, but I know maybe it's Easter week that's causing it. I don't know. But I think you all understand where we're at with it. So I hope this session was good for you. Going forward today, we have some work to do, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time this week meal prepping. We're going to talk about the meals that we have for the week, so we get that off of our plate. It's part of my integrity, like trying to make sure that we're staying healthy. We're going to do what we have to do to plan out because we don't want to go to the store. Make sure that we have our food planned out for the next couple of weeks. That we're not overdoing it, not letting anything go to waste. Make sure we have a healthy balance going forward, and making it easy that we make right decisions through the week. We also are packing because we're still moving apparently, and we want to make sure that we have everything in the right order as we're going forward. So, we have a lot of things going on here. We're still making sure that we're getting the books out to you guys. I appreciate everybody that's been buying them. I appreciate all of you that join me on these videos. I think that having you guys is as much a value for me as it's been for you. So I appreciate all of it. Keep coming back. Check us out on YouTube if you need to watch the replay of any of the other videos. Like us on our podcast apps. Give us a 5-star review if you feel it's worthy. If not, just keep on going. Don't worry about it. I'm going to hit these last couple of comments. Stacy nailed it today. Thank you. Yeah, I read that yesterday, and I thought, man, this is so appropriate right now. Levi, thank you for the session. One of my takeaways is stripping away all of those things and focusing on who I want to be with integrity. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome, Rita. You're welcome, Kathy. Patty, you're welcome. Hope to see you again soon. I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I will see you every day. Unless something wacky happens, I will see you every day at 10 o'clock. I thank you all for joining me. Have a great Monday. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.